A big hello and a very warm welcome to a special showing right here on Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. And I have with me a very interesting person, a service that I use almost every other day. And that's none other than Rohit Kapoor, the CEO of Swiggy's food marketplace. Thank you so much, Rohit, for joining us right here on Brand Equity.
Thank you, Sonali, for having me. Thank you.
I'm bustling with questions, but first up, I must congratulate you that, your food delivery business is finally in the black. Was this planned, envisaged, or has this taken you by surprise? Was the number of years you gave, the Swiggy food business to actually go black and the actual time it's taken? 9 years, I would think, yeah? On track?
I think on track, because 9 years, if you think about food delivery companies globally, we are actually one of the youngest companies,
sure.
Right? We are also one of the top 10 food delivery companies globally. This came out in some reports. So it's come at the right time. I think it is planned. I think it was a path that we are already walking on for a long period of time. But look, I think it's always a balance of figuring out what's the right time to hit that milestone and what it will take. So glad we are here. But this is still feels like just starting out. For sure.
But give me a sense in terms of where was the pivot point in the business model where you, this whole moving from, investment phase to actually turning black. When was that pivotal point? And I also know that a lot of investment has gone behind your Instamart, your quick commerce business. And, so how would you juxtapose, let's say, that pivotal point in the food business? And of course, COVID must have been a big impetus for you.
Yeah, so I think if I trace back, I think COVID actually got in a lot of new consumers into the any online space, any e-commerce space. And there was a knock-on effect, because what happened in COVID was many people tried some category for some need first time. Let's say you were never online and you just had to buy grocery. But once you did that, you believed that you can do 10 other things.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So that was a knock-on effect happening. And look, there is a phase where you have to get growth and get to a certain scale. I think we felt, given the scale we are, and of course, I still believe we are as a country, as a category, there's so many markers which tell me that we are still in a starting point of a multi-decadal opportunity,
sure.
Right? So I think there was a time where it felt that it was the right time also to move on the path to profitability, and that wasn't jerky.
Because what were those triggers?
The triggers were, I think there was an opportunity to do so, right? There was the right thing to do.
What did you do?
Pretty much everything. Like, look, none of this happens with a silver bullet. You cut out things which don't make sense. You rationalize some of the spends that were needed at some point in time in an investment phase but are no longer needed,
yeah, sure.
Right? Rally the organization to saying this is an important outcome and let's all go for it, and yet keep in balance what is the right thing to do for the customer, the restaurant partner and the delivery partner.
So if I ask you to flash back a bit so that, me and my audience and the industry understands, when you did a deep dive into looking at the model and, at different points in your life, you have different needs and then you can cut things off, add things on, just, you layer your life according to your needs. So in your 9-year journey, what did you do when you looked back and said, what do I need, what I don't need? What is excess, what is frugal? What are those things, if you could chart them out for me?
Look, it is about and scale also offers you advantages, right? Once you come to a certain scale, there are certain expenses which are on a per unit basis just become a lot lower, right?
Yeah.
So that itself was one enabler. The second thing is, I'm a big believer that there is no silver bullet, right? You have to literally take it right from every market at a city level, at a customer cohort level, at a restaurant partner level, and look at the P&L and say, given that we want to still grow X, because growth is important still, right? What is the optimized model in different cohorts and categories, right? And I think we've just done that, and we've been at it for at least, the accelerated path has been at it for like 3-4 quarters. And what you see is an outcome of 1 year of real hard work, right? So it's not like we flicked a switch 1 month and it happened.
Sure. But Rohit, during COVID, you must, as you mentioned, got like a significant number of new users who've probably stayed on because we've all also got used to it, this convenience, right? We're so lucky as Indians, I would say we're quite spoiled at this point. What is the total number of users you have right now? And I want you to give me the Swiggy users who use you, and of course also your Swiggy One users. And what is that divide?
So look, I can't give these numbers out. They're
Broadly,
not public.
broadly.
But I think Swiggy One is a large program, right? They're comparable to any similar program out there, right? I think the Swiggy One, we see a lot of love in terms of frequency, right? And we've been a believer. So we've been at it with the subscription program or the loyalty for a Swiggy One for quite some time. So it's not like jerky switch on, switch off thing, right? And we've been at it for and building it for the last 1 year I've been here. We continue to believe in it. We'll continue to make it a much more robust program, a stronger program there. In terms of users, I think the fact that we are in 550 plus cities, right? Adding cities every quarter. And yet, when you look at some of the international comparisons, like just to give an sense,
please do.
Right?
Yeah, that will be helpful.
The largest food delivery company in China will do probably 6 to 9 times the daily volumes of the industry combined here, right? So when we talk about growth, we always talk about month, quarter, and the right thing to do because we need to live by the month, live by the quarter. But I always do that, and I also look at what India will look like 10 years later, right? And there, I think it's fascinating that there's just so much to be had in terms of growth, right? It is cities, it is use cases, right? Even if you take it, like, let's take an example. If you think about how many times people eat in a day, it is 3 meals, plus let's add a snack which you have once in 2 days, not every day. So 105 meals a month.
Wow, okay.
Right? Practically. Now, some of the developed country numbers in terms of ordering in and dining out are even for people online, forget about the people who are not online, are 6 to 10 times.
In a month?
6 to 10 times of the frequency we see in India.
Oh, 6 to 10 times the frequency. Oh, we're that behind, you're saying.
And that's natural because online acceptance, all these are, fairly nascent categories.
Sure.
And and equally you can call them mature categories, right? Because they become reasonably large by themselves. So I feel that continued investment with a profitable chassis is the right way for these companies to think about the future.
Okay. So if you just look at what's happening today, and since you have the kind of exposure and information on how different tiers are operating and behaving, what's the big difference between, let's say, a metropolitan and tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and where, for Swiggy, where is the potential coming from? And are Indians okay to eat out so many times a week? Is that trend changing? Because we're all about ghar ka khana, ye wo, all of that, right? So is that trend changing? Are you seeing, like in developed countries, like you rightly said, let's say New York, for example, right? Working professionals, because they're having a hard life, there's no labor, are constantly ordering, and it's their part of life. But for Indians, we have the luxury of cooks and other services. So how does that juxtapose?
So like in India, there are hundreds of languages. There's no single answer on food, right? Even metros are different, right? So to say that 2 metros are similar will be again generalization, which is just for the sake of it, right?
Okay.
Like if you have a city which is very, let's say, cosmopolitan nature, where people come into let's say the IT heavy cities, right? Bangalore or Hyderabad, right? Or Pune, right? Where let's say there are many families where both couples are working, right? Now, their consumption pattern and ordering in and eating out is way different from somewhere where that is less right? And like for example, some cities you find that Sundays the cooks don't come. They're only
That's true.
Right? Those days you get a very high frequency of orders because if you have time, while it is great to cook, some people also want to use the time for multiple other things. Like they want to go out, they want to hang out, they want to do so that's one. Then there is cities which are very strong on traditional food behavior, right? Take a Jaipur, take a Indore, take parts of Calcutta, right? There the fascinating thing is that, let's say you had a great sweet shop, okay? And earlier you were very famous, but you'll cater to 3 kilometer, 4 kilometer radius,
absolutely.
right? Because nobody will go like 20 kilometers to a sweet shop except the real foodie, which is small number, to buy samosas or jalebis or kachori. Today, because of online, you have heard of that sweet shop. But today, you can order sitting 10 kilometers away, right? So for them, the market is expanding using the traditional strength. It is not that the palettes have changed completely.
Got it.
Right, but the ability to reach out, consume is way higher. Equally, in those towns, there are cohorts developing because they're engineering colleges.
Yeah.
Like in a Varanasi, for example, you will imagine Varanasi as a ghat, as the religious place, as multiple other things. But there's a BHU out there, right, which is one of Asia's largest student campuses.
Sure.
There, the consumption patterns are again very different.
Sure.
You go to a small town, there is a pattern of saying, sometimes I'll speak in Hindi because I can't capture that in English. Is saying, मेहमान आ रहे हैं, कुछ अच्छा मंगाते हैं, right? कुछ घर पे बनाते हैं और कुछ अच्छा भी मंगाते हैं.
Correct.
Right? Then there is adventurism, saying, I was in Delhi or I've seen this on Instagram, I want to try this food, right? So, I think while there are patterns, there is the opportunity to participate in the user's journey. I strongly believe that we can't do things which fundamentally don't appeal to the user. It's food is very personal, right? It can be influence consumption, but at the end of the day, your palate is your palate.
Sure.
You like something, right?
I have a rejoinder to this question. You're very right. Today, if I want to do some very famous places, jalebis and samosas, I can. But we are Indians. You may be rich, you may be poor, you may be upper middle class, lower middle class. ये जो value for money है ना, this extra payment, I guess we are moving out as we grow in, in wealth. Are people willing to pay that 40, 50 rupees, 60 rupees premium?
Yeah, look, I think people, it's not about what people, it's about the value, right? First of all, I think people are paying.
They are willing to pay. So
there are lots and lots of people who are paying today, right? And paying for the right value. Look, no Indian consumer will pay anything they won't find value in. Right?
Exactly.
That's and we don't take it for granted at all. If you ask me that, if we assume or take it for granted that any consumer will give us something which we don't deserve, answer is no, right? That we don't even assume for a second, right? So I think we don't take it for granted that the consumer will pay anything that they don't feel its value for them, right? Equally, I think we just get lost in the price often in our debates, but we actually are for convenience, right? At 8:30 p.m., if the choice is you haven't cooked at home, choice is to take your car out. Just visualize this in Bangalore, right? Go 4 kilometers away or 3 kilometers to your favorite restaurant, find parking, buy the food or eat there and come back, right? You trade off that petrol, right? That inconvenience of going, etc. And if you're in the mood to consume at home, you will do it, right? But you have to find the right value. Equally, when you want to go and dine out for an occasion, I don't think we can influence that choice beyond a point, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to also. We want a million, wishes to be there for the consumer because we believe we have a meaningful role in adding convenience to the life of our consumer's journey.
But Rohit, tell me, as a customer today of Swiggy, what is the big differentiation between Swiggy and Zomato?
Look, I can speak for why you should.
But there are two services, both are offering me the same restaurant tie-ups, right? Broadly the same type of pricing, right? There are many customers who do both and see kahan pe zyada coupon mil raha hai, or where am I getting a better deal and go there. So
and it's our job to be relevant to you. Right? We don't take anything there for granted. We don't take our consumers for granted even for a single second.
No, my point is these are two exactly same services. How do you, as somebody who's a leader, look at differentiating the two to a customer?
I can only speak for what we stand for, right? Without getting into what somebody else stands for.
Okay.
And I think, you're asking, let me give you at least what I've heard from consumers on why they like us.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Some people really like the fact that the way the interface is. They really love the interface.
Okay.
Right? They find it easy to just navigate and select. I think that's an important choice for many people. Right?
Okay.
There are some people who really like the fact that we are delivering faster. Right? There are some people who really like the fact that the offers or the value they find on the platform are superior. Right? At times. There are some people who really like the fact that there are unique propositions going on at that point in time. There are some people who really like the fact that on a single app, with a similar kind of interface, I can order food, I can order grocery, I can go and dine out, I can ship my parcel across. So there is no singular answer to this, but the fact is that we continue to grow, we continue to be loved in such a at such scale, means that we are highly relevant to some parts of the consumer, and those are very large parts.
Undoubtedly.
But having said that, I think the pursuit to be more relevant is every second, every minute, right? We don't take our success for granted at all.
But whether it's you or Zomato, right? And these are the two most popular food delivery services. I have a couple of questions. One is that there is this constant animosity with your restaurant partners, right, on pricing. And I think this is a category issue, right? There will always be some kind of animosity and this whole pricing, discounting, trading, whatever you guys do. How do you manage this on a day-to-day basis? It must be a very big challenge to keep them on board, keep them happy, and also get your way and give them a little bit of their way. How does that happen?
No, so I think again this is a. I'm glad you asked this question, because this is something which needs data rather than just pure opinions and noise, right? So our restaurant NPS has gone up by 100% over the last 1 year.
Okay.
Right? And the reality is that we have 200, give or take 275,000 restaurants on the platform, selling every day. Now in a trade, any trade, forget about this, you go to FMCG, you go to any trade.
Yeah.
Wherever there is a relationship which is where economics are shared, right, there will be some push and pull always, right? To imagine that won't exist in any time at any point is not going to be true. Today I can tell you safely that we work with 99.99% of partners peacefully, amicably, and solve their problems daily basis. And I think it is our damn job to make sure that we are highly relevant to them and are part of the success. I actually do not see it any other way.
Is the category now going to see a lot of disruption with the coming of ONDC?
Look,
because there's so many memes and charts floating around, Swiggy versus Zomato versus ONDC and this and that and whatever. How are you looking at it as somebody who's leading this at the helm?
Early days, we are watching it very closely and carefully, right? And I think again goes back to the same thing, saying consumers, partners, delivery partners have to find value in whichever channel they choose to operate in, and we'll see what happens there.
But what do you think? Like, what do you think will pan out? You don't want to
I have no
crystal
idea.
gaze?
I have no idea, but I think we don't see it as a threat, right? We see it as a development, we see it evolution, and we see it as something that we want to closely watch and understand what's going on. Right?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And if I ask you about, okay, now you're doing food delivery, you're expanding cities, you're expanding your offerings. What's the next step in terms of the innovations with food? Like, for instance, are you going to be doing the city offering wherein I want Hyderabad biryani and you will deliver it to me at a premium, like your competition is doing? Is that something you're looking at? What are the other innovations that we can expect as consumers, right?
Look, I think being in a competitive market, I can't speak of what's coming, right? But I can tell you how we think about it. I think that's because one is, are there cities where we need to be there, we are not there, right? That's one angle of growth. Second is, as a consumer, look, we are seeing great joy in terms of the same consumer wanting us on different occasions. To say a simple example, right? We realize that people who start with using it one service, let's say breakfast, because they find it, just find the convenience so good, right? Then they say dessert भी अगर रात को मंगाना है, तो why not go for that also?
Okay.
Then I think there is a lot of focus on in terms of just building new entries in categories. And also the other thing I'm very strong on is organic events. Like I come from Calcutta,
Okay.
right? I grew up there, and in Durga Puja, there is no way food is not part of like a conversation every hour,
Sure.
right? It is fashion, what you wear, Ma, which is the goddess, and the food, right? So when that is there, we want to be highly relevant. Like in Kerala, during Onam, we want to be able to provide sadhya to as many people as we can, partnering with our restaurant partners, right? Because they also love it, the fact they can distribute. So, is there a big aha innovation which I can speak about right now? Answer is no. There's a lot of things cooking.
Nothing you can reveal.
In this market, you can understand. I can't talk about it.
And in terms of dine out, what's happening at that end?
It's again a company we acquired, right? And I think just very happy with the way it is shaping up as part of Swiggy. So first of all, I think if you haven't used GIRF, which is the Great Indian Restaurant Festival, some of the best experiences and outcomes there. But more than that, I think, again, very consumer backwards. If you are a consumer who wants to order in at home or in office, of course we are there. But once you're choosing to go out, right, and have a meal anywhere or a drink or any occasion, we want to be able to provide you like the discovery option, like guide you where you can go. Like for example, if you go to the app, you can find some people are really they want Instagrammable cafes, right?
Okay.
So there's a if you go there to go to the Swiggy app, go to dine out, put there, you'll find cafes which you think are highly Instagrammable, right? Then rewards and experiences, we want to be with you. So this is something which is a large market, right? And we believe we have a lot of value to offer consumers, and restaurant partners love it because a lot of them get traffic which they otherwise wouldn't have got.
So as we go forward, right, interesting year, we're expecting some sort of softening because of macroeconomic global factors. However, I understand that it's been yelled out many times that India is in a strong place and all of that. Having said that, we will have some trickling down effect. What do you see as somebody who's heading the Swiggy food marketplace in terms of the headwinds the category will see?
So I have a philosophical answer and I actually practice it, right?
Come on.
I'm telling you, like there are controllables, there are non-controllables.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
The non-controllable is कि US में क्या हो रहा है, global economy में क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ क्या हो रहा है, वहाँ क्या हो रहा है. Can I do anything about it? Very
of course
little.
You can't. Yeah.
Very little. So I don't even think about it. That's my way of looking at things. But can I do things to make things happen on a daily basis with my customers, restaurant partners, daily partners? Absolutely yes, right? There things are as exciting as they have been, and personally I don't see any. I genuinely believe, and that's a personal opinion, right, that India is in a reasonably good shape, right? Even from that standpoint. So is that something we are conscious of as responsible, for the capital that we use from as shareholders? Yes, right. But is that something which bothers us and worries us? Not that much. I think the India story is still very, very exciting.
How will you ensure that more people are eating via Swiggy? They are already doing. You're going to get more customers, but the customers you have, how will you ensure that they are ordering more on Swiggy? The same customer, increase customer usage.
Swiggy One,
okay,
right, I think is definitely a very, very strong tool to do that, and I think we find huge amounts of consumer love. Second is, we find when people use more categories from us, they use us more on every category, right? Third is, I think just the fact that which other problem can I solve, right? So give you an example. If there is an evening snack that you want, sometimes are you want it and you want it fast.
Sure.
Because in evening time, you're not going to wait for 1 hour to get a snack,
True.
right? So can I get something in 20 minutes which you really love, right? And I think those things obsess us much, much more than the uncontrollables.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But on that note, thank you so much. Much more power to you, Rohit and Swiggy, as you travel along the food delivery service and aim to please us even more than you're pleasing us today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.